Folks, for those of you who don't already know, I was an investigator for the government, specifically the United States Army, and I'm currently an investigator in the private sector. Now, I like to think I'm pretty good. However, I'm sure some of you have questioned my abilities. So, to find out how good I really am, I bought a book called Whodunit Mysteries, which is a chock full of these little mysteries you can solve on your own, which is what we're going to do today. If at any point you think that this would make a good live stream and you would like to watch this live and participate live and help me out live, because I'm sure some of these are going to stump me, I think that would be great. But it really matters if you think that would be great. So if you do, hit that like button, let me know in the comment section, but let's get into it. Today's mystery is called The Intruder. Sigmund Huygens had been murdered in his lounge, killed by a single knife thrust to the neck. We're going to pause right there. We have ourselves a victim, which we're going to say is just Sigmund, because Huygens is a bit of a mouthful. Let's see. S-I-G-M-U-N-D. Now, normally I would do the last name, but I don't want to. It's not the real deal. We're going to slap that bad boy right there next to my police mermaid, and we're going to blay it. There. Got ourselves a knife stabbing Sigmund. See how I did that? Yeah, pro moves right there. He was found in his usual armchair. This faced the fire and sat in front of a pair of tall French windows, which offered a doorway out onto a pleasant-looking patio. Or at least they had until they were painted shut. Why would you do that? I don't know. I don't have French windows. I don't know why you'd paint them shut. He's dead. Who cares, right? The garden beyond was a little unkempt, October leaves scattered across it. The room showed no signs of disturbance or struggle. Nothing had been stolen, as far as the family could tell. The murder weapon, of a common style used in leather and craftwork, had been left in the wound and offered no useful leads. Now keep in mind that wound is the neck, so he's just got a knife in his neck and it's no useful leads. Curses. That would have been helpful. Inspector Parnacki looked out at the grounds thoughtfully. Huygens had been ill for a decade or more, and cantankerous with it. Well, immediately I'm thinking someone murdered him to shut him up. Or, I don't know, he's got French windows. Maybe he's a little bit wealthy. Maybe someone wanted the inheritance and didn't want to wait for the sickness. You know what I'm saying? His wife, Delpha, had committed suicide 4 years previously. Oh! I think this is an issue of inheritance, because if his wife is dead, that money is not going to her. I just assume that he has money because he has French windows. I don't know if that's fair. We're going to keep going. And the case notes implied that her husband's ire had been a major contributor to her despair. Hearing footsteps, Parnacki turned around. Now I'm going to pause for a second real quick. I know, we want to hear the story, but I want to investigate this. What if there's a kid? Is there a kid? If there's a kid, maybe the kid wants the inheritance, one, and is mad at the dad for driving the wife to suicide. I don't know if there's a kid yet. We're going to keep going. Officer Sullivan entered the room. "The family are ready for you, Inspector," he said. "Thank you, John." Parnacki followed Sullivan back through the house to the small reception room that had been set aside for the initial interviews. He took out his notepad. "Will you bring in the nurse first?" Laura Ball was in her 30s. She appeared pleasant in an institutional sort of way and was tidily dressed in a mix of blue and white cottons. "I've been full-time here for 7 years," she explained. "Mr. H's attacks were quite frequent. I was with him about 50% of the time and lived in a small suite in the old servants' quarters. His family were never close, so after poor Mrs. H died, I probably talked with him more than anyone else. He was difficult, yes, but really he was just sad and in terrible pain. I was out visiting the pharmacy when it happened. By the time I got back, the police were here. I gather Scott found his father and called them. I wish I could tell you more." All right, we got ourselves a suspect. Let's write this down. Who is this? Laura Ball. Laura Ball. Nurse. She says what? She was out at the pharmacy at pharmacy. A likely story, Laura. If that even is your real name. Slap that over there. Yeah. Make it a little neater. I don't know who Scott is yet. I feel like We might figure that out at some point. Doesn't matter, we're gonna keep going. Ooh, here we go. Jeff Hoodgins was the victim's elder son. Remember when I said maybe this is an inheritance issue? I think maybe we have our lead suspect. Let's write this down real quick. Jeff. Son. We're going to wait till we see what his alibi is before we put it up there. Ha! All right, Jeff Hoodgins was the victim's elder son, sharply dressed with a slight predatory air. He seemed more annoyed than saddened by his loss. I took over from... I don't know why that's the voice. I don't like that voice. I took over from father almost 11 years ago. That's the one. When he first became unwell, I like to think that the firm was prospered in that time. We weren't exactly close, no. He was always an angry man, and I was relieved to reach adulthood. I did my duty, though, and visited every weekend without fail. That's more than Scott or Barbie can claim. I was here yesterday morning and spent a couple of hours with him, for all the good it did either of us. Oh, he was there yesterday. Puts him at the scene of the crime, but I feel like this is a red herring. We'll find out. Miss Ball had gone out by the time I left. I went straight to my club for a stiff scotch and soda, and from there to home. So Jeff is confirming the story from Miss Ball, who is the nurse. So we're going to give her a little check mark there. Okay. But, was present. Not much of an alibi. I'm going to put Jeff there. He's at the top of our board. Yeah, you little criminal, you. I'm going to say it's Jeff confirming that story from Miss Ball there. Hoodgins' daughter, Barbara Rogers, was between her brothers in age. 2 brothers, so Scott must be the other brother. We'll get there. Although she looked fit and tanned, her face was strongly marked with lines of old pain. My husband Delroy and I were hiking with our boys all yesterday, she said, with a defiant air. We made our way up through the Penton Woods to the top of Hangman's Mount and had a picnic there. It was very pleasant. I'm sad that the boys have lost their grandfather, I suppose, but I hope Mother can rest a little more easily now. Distressed? Lord forgive me, no. Of course I'm not distressed. He was a horrible father, particularly for a shy girl. I won't miss him. Okay, well, we got ourselves another little suspect here. Was this Barbara, daughter? She was hiking. Ha-ha! Watching you, Barbara. You're not off my list yet. Let's keep going. Scott Hoodgins, the youngest son, was 37, and he is also a suspect. Scott. Son. Let's find out what his alibi is. Scott Hoodgins, the youngest son, was 37. Tidy and crisp. He seemed subdued. I found him, yes, he said. Terrible thing. I arrived about 2. I try to come by on Saturdays whenever I can. Jeff was already gone, and Miss Ball was out, so I let myself in. I thought he'd be dozing. Father was an old terror, but it was horrible to see him like that. I should have realized something was wrong when I pulled up in the drive and saw the lounge window open. I'm afraid I closed them without thinking. Then I called for help and waited for your people to arrive. I wouldn't say I'm sad, exactly, but for better or worse, he was a central force in all of our lives. And it'll be odd not to have him there as a focus. So, his alibi is he came afterwards. Found body. A likely story. How absolutely convenient. Scott! Ha! Once the interviews were done, Parnacki closed his notepad and nodded briskly to Officer Sullivan. Let's get the killer down to the station, shall we? Whom does Parnacki suspect? And why? And it gives me a hint. The hint is paint. And I'm going to tell you, I'm thinking it's Scott because he's the only person that mentions the windows, which we know were painted. Hold on. So according to everyone's story, Barbara was not there. Laura Ball was there, but she left. Jeff confirmed that. Then he left, and Scott said that Jeff was gone. Now that would seem to implicate Jeff, but Jeff is written a little too hard as the subject here. I don't think it's him. I think he's a red herring. I think it's Scott, but I have to figure out why I think that. You know, we have our hunches, us detectives, and I have to figure out why I have that hunch. Paint. The nose. Paint. Paint. Okay. Or at least they had until they were painted shut. They couldn't... Oh, they weren't painted over. Oh, my mistake. They were painted shut. The windows were still clear, but they couldn't be opened. So if Scott is talking about windows being open, well, that doesn't make sense. Saw the lounge windows open. I assume when they say lounge windows, they're talking about the French windows. Why would he lie about that? Unless he's the killer. Even if he is the killer, why would he lie about that? Unless he's trying to say that someone escaped through the window? I'm saying it's Scott. Final answer. Oh my gosh, Scott, you criminal. It's you. You're the killer. Because those windows couldn't have been opened. Can you stop bumping my hand, please? Where do I find out? Okay. Solution. The intruder. The French windows in the lounge had been painted shut. Ha-ha! Scott claimed to have found them open when he arrived. If they had been opened recently, the paint sealing them would have been cracked away. As it is intact, he must have been lying and trying to imply that the killer was someone who did not have easy access to the victim. Faced with the error in his account, he confessed and became openly gleeful into having finally found the nerve to take revenge for his mother's death. Oh my God, I'm the best at this. Not only did I know it was Scott, based on my analysis, I called it from the beginning that this was something about either inheritance, okay, I didn't necessarily get that right, or the fact that the mother had committed suicide because the father had been a terrible person. I win. I am an excellent investigator. How dare you think otherwise? If, again, you want to see this done live, I would be happy to do that. Just let me know. Hit that like button, write a comment, say nice things, or don't. It's up to you. Free country. But until the next time, be good, stay safe.